The Rangers are seeing gold. After a fantastic defensive season, the Rangers have 5 Gold Glove finalists. We're talking about which ones are going to win and take a deeper look at Corey Seager's 2025 season and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a crippling addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about the Rangers' 5 finalists to win Gold Glove Awards. Who was on there that deserves to be? Who was snubbed amongst the Rangers? Were there any snubs? Who's going to win? And we're going to take a big, deep look at Corey Seager's 2025 season. Before we get into all that, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Now, the Rangers, it was announced yesterday, have 5 Gold Glove finalists. 5. That is a lot of Gold Glove finalists, and all these guys are very deserving. I thought maybe there should have been a 6th one in there, but let's get to the 5 who were named finalists. There are only 3 finalists for this award, so mathematically, if you're just thinking of percentage-wise, maybe these guys have a 1 in 3 chance. But starting with Marcus Semien, the Rangers' second baseman, who I'll talk about on tomorrow's show, a deeper look into his season. Adolis Garcia in right field. Shortstop Corey Seager. This would be his first Gold Glove if he wins it. Both Semien and Adolis already have Gold Gloves. The Rangers also have left fielder Wyatt Langford, who also played a little bit of center field, but he was nominated in left, his primary position. And then Jacob deGrom, who is also nominated for Comeback Player of the Year. He is one of the finalists in the American League. And this is well-deserved for this Rangers squad. This was an elite defensive team. All of these guys would be worthy winners. I don't think all 5 are going to win. And I do think there was somebody that was left off of this list, somebody who said at the beginning of this year, who won a Silver Slugger last year and wanted to win a Gold Glove now at his position. That's the utility position. That's Joshua H. Hits real good Silver Slugger, soon to be eventually, I think, Gold Glove winner, Smith. He was not nominated as a finalist for the Utility Gold Glove Award. Last year, he was the Utility Silver Slugger Award winner. This year, I think we're going to get these Silver Slugger Award nominations here either today or in the coming days. I'll talk more about that whenever we get that information. I would imagine that the Rangers have at least, well, maybe they have one Silver Slugger. Maybe Corey Seager makes it. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the utility position goes to one of Mauricio Dubon with the Astros, Daniel Schneemann with the Guardians, and Ernie Clement with the Blue Jays. Ernie Clement was fantastic. So even if Smith was nominated as a finalist, which he wasn't last year, even though he was great defensively last year at multiple positions. I mean, he was great defensively at multiple positions this year. The numbers don't like his defense as much as the eye test does, but Smith playing literally every position this year outside of catcher and pitcher is pretty darn impressive, and he played all of them at the very least pretty well. But all these guys defensively are well deserving. The 5 who did make the final cut, or I guess the penultimate cut to be finalists, the Rangers set a record for the best fielding percentage in Major League history. In Major League history. Do you know how long that is? That is over 150 years. Well, I think it's about 150 years. Maybe sometime in the 1880s is when we officially started keeping stats like this. And the Rangers just did not make errors this year. They also made very good plays. They did not mess up a whole lot of plays. Outside of the first month or so, once Leo Taveras was no longer manning center field every day, they had a whole lot fewer defensive bugaboos out there. But I mean, everybody that was playing defense on this Ranger squad was at least competent, at the very least competent. There were not really any straight up bad defenders. Heck, Rowdy Tellez was good defensively at first base. Jake Berger was much better defensively at first base than I think anybody expected. Now, Jonah Heim and Kyle Higashioka didn't do a great job of controlling the running game, but they did very, very well in terms of their blocking, in terms of just calling games. That is a huge, huge, huge part of a catcher's job, and I think should be factored into the Gold Glove Award nomination. Not that either of those guys, I think, would even crack the top 5. There were a lot of really, really, really good defensive catchers, to the point where Cal Raleigh, who is going to be either the MVP winner or the MVP runner-up, and has been a Platinum Glove Award winner in the past, didn't even make the cut for the Gold Glove finalist in a year where he hit 60 home runs as a catcher. That the 60 home runs didn't really factor into his defensive framing and all of that stuff. But this is a great defensive team. I think Seager has maybe the best chance for any of these Rangers to win it. He is up against a couple of very, very qualified defensive shortstops in Taylor Walls of the Tampa Bay Rays and Bobby Witt Jr., who won the award last year. Taylor Walls is he is only there to play great shortstop defense, and Seager was second amongst AL shortstops in defensive runs saved at plus 16. Yeah, plus 16 in 102 games. That's phenomenal. And well, Taylor Walls was only one defensive run save better than him this year at plus 17. And I know Walls played a lot more than 102 games this year. So per game basis, that was definitely what Seager did incredibly well this year. In left field, Wyatt Langford's going up against Stephen Kwan, who has won all 3 Gold Glove Awards in left field since he made it to the major league. Since Stephen Kwan has been an everyday major leaguer, there has been very few players better defensively at their position than Kwan. He's been a little bit less great in terms of just he didn't have a great arm the first 3 years of his career. This year, a lot of his run value is based on the arm, which is interesting. The overall range in left field hasn't been as good. I think range-wise, Wyatt Langford is definitely the best of these 3. And Tyler Soderstrom, a converted catcher of the Oakland Athletics, who performed incredibly well, plus 5 outs above average in that weird stadium in West Sacramento. Shout out to Tyler Soderstrom for being a finalist. He's not going to win the award, but that is hugely impressive from him. At second base, it's probably going to be Andres Jimenez that takes home this award yet again. He has won 3 straight. Marcus Semien was the last winner of this award that was not named Andres Jimenez. He is fantastic defensively. He is a worthy winner if he is the winner there. Luis Rengifo of the Angels is the other second baseman nominated for this award. And then at pitcher, we have Jacob deGrom, who did not make a single error this season, not a single one. And he was excellent as the converted shortstop that he is, but he's going against some tough competition. Luis Severino of the Athletics. He also did not make a single error this season. And also looking at his innings, Jacob deGrom had 10 more innings than Luis Severino this season, which feels wild to me. And then there's Max Fried, who just keeps on winning Gold Gloves. He is a phenomenal defensive pitcher, and if Jacob deGrom ends up winning that award, he would be the first pitcher since Kenny Rogers to win a Gold Glove for the Texas Rangers as a pitcher. Rogers is the only pitcher who has ever won a Gold Glove with the Texas Rangers. He won 4 in a 6-season span back in the early 2000s. So this would be a nice little feather in the cap of Jacob deGrom. I think he is much more of a shoo-in for the Comeback Player of the Year award than he is for the Gold Glove, but he is a very good defensive fielder. The guy played shortstop in college. I guess it's a little bit long ago now that he's going to be heading into his age 38 season next year. It's been a minute since college, but he is a great defensive fielding pitcher. That is something that is very helpful for him preventing runs. I can't really remember any even just missed plays. He always makes the right play there. Same with Seager, same with Semien. Both of those guys are just such locks up the middle defensively. I think we look at the value of Corey Seager's offense, which I'll talk about here at length later on in this show, but the value of Seager defensively is phenomenal. Adolis Garcia had a phenomenal defensive year in right field. I mean, truly, he was exceptional. I think he should be the award winner for the right field Gold Glover. He is up against Willie Abreu of the Red Sox, who won it last year, and Cam Smith of the Astros, who hadn't played the outfield until this year. Impressive stuff from the Astros rookie. I think he probably finishes third. I don't think they released the voting for this. I think it's just either you win it or you were a finalist, but Adolis Garcia led all right field with plus 16 defensive runs saved. He and Seager both at plus 16 DRS, amongst the leaders in all of Major League Baseball. This team was exceptional defensively all year long. That's part of why the pitchers were so darn good at limiting runs. When the defense is great, it's much easier to limit these runs. I think the Rangers probably get 2 out of these 5. I would be happy with 2 out of 5. I would be really disappointed if the Rangers didn't get any. I think it's possible that they don't get any, but I think 2 out of 5. I don't know which 2 because there are a lot of worthy candidates in all these categories, but the Rangers need to win at least 1 because this was a phenomenal team defensive season and phenomenal individual defensive seasons from Jacob deGrom, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Wyatt Langford, and Adolis Garcia. Coming up, we're talking about Corey Seager's offensive season and his defensive season, the Rangers aircraft carrier. What can the Rangers expect from him next year, and how good would this season really from the Rangers star? Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. They've got all kinds of different things you can bet on in terms of baseball. There's not a whole lot of awards, but there's some odds on World Series MVP already. Shohei Ohtani, unsurprisingly, is the favorite, even though he hasn't been great this postseason at plus 330. The only regular season award that is still on the board is American League MVP Aaron Judge, favored at minus 400. Cal Raleigh of those Mariners, the 60 home run hitting catcher, at plus 310. I lean more towards the catcher who hit 60 home runs because that's a truly wild thing. But right now, the NLCS MVP is also pretty wide open. Freddie Freeman, the favorite there. Up there, second favorite is Blake Snell, and then Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Try saying that 15 times fast. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Shout out to the every Rangers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be talking about Marcus Semien, his season, his first hurt season in forever. How disappointing was it? And what's the long-term prognosis for Marcus Semien after yet another disappointing offensive season? Although the defense was pretty darn good, as we mentioned in the last segment. But Corey Seager this year, there was no disappointment offensively in what he did this year. Unless you just have incredibly high standards and you said, hey, why can't he just do what he did in 2023 every single year? I'm thinking, yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice to have a 7-WAR season every single year, even though he only played 119 games, having a 1,013 OPS every year. That would be lovely to get from Corey Seager every single year, but this was a stellar year nonetheless. Only 102 games played, missing time with a couple of different stints on the IL with the same right hamstring injury that he probably came back from prematurely. Could have been a few more games had this Rangers team not been completely out of it at the end. An appendectomy, ending his season with a month left, was just really out of nowhere. And a frustrating way to end what was a really good season. He finished the year with an 860 OPS, 6.1 baseball reference WAR in 102 games. I mean, as the Rangers' new skipper, Skip Schumacher, described Corey Seager, he is the Rangers' aircraft carrier. They go as he goes. He is their best player, not just offensively, defensively. He's phenomenal. I mean, he is the star of this team. It is pretty simple. You look at the payroll, you say, oh, who are the guys who are making a whole lot of money? Jacob deGrom, very, very good. Important for him to be good. He was good this year. Corey Seager, important for him to be good. He was very good this season. Only 21 home runs, which is the lowest he has hit as a member of the Texas Rangers. This is also the fewest games he's played as a member of the Texas Rangers. The most games he played was 151, but that was his lowest B-WAR season. It was the only year he's had a WAR below 5. Yet, let me say that again. That is the only year that he has had a WAR below 5. This year, 6 wins in 102 games. Last year, even though it was disappointing, still at All-Star, still top 15 in MVP voting last year, had a 5-win season. I bet he's going to get MVP votes this year. I don't know how many because he missed so much time, but this was a stellar defensive year. And you look at the, career Rangers franchise WAR leaders, and he's already up there. He is already at number 17. In 4 years, he is at number 17. That's crazy. He's ahead of guys like Fergie Jenkins. He's ahead of guys like Mark Teixeira, ahead of guys like Julio Franco, of Ruben Sierra, of Yu Darvish. And if he has another 5-win season next year, he's going to pass all-timers like Michael Young. He will pass Michael Young almost assuredly next year. Even if he has the worst WAR that he's had as a member of the Texas Rangers at 3.8, he's still going to pass Michael Young next year. He's going to pass Alex Rodriguez. He's going to pass Rusty Greer. He's going to pass Josh Hamilton. He might even pass Frank Howard. That might be a little bit much for him. Actually, no, it would just take a 5-WAR season to pass Frank Howard for the most WAR as a career Texas Ranger. He has already done that in 4 seasons. He's still young. He's going to turn 32 next year. He is still very much in his prime. And this year we saw much better defense than we've seen from him in the past. Now, I think we've all collectively just not really thought about Corey Seager's defense. At least I haven't. Maybe you have. Maybe you've been painfully aware of how pretty good Corey Seager's defense is for a guy who is kind of huge for a shortstop at 6'3", 215. I mean, when you think of how thick and how sturdy he is, I think back to a play back in, I think around May, there was a ball that was dying in, the little Bermuda Triangle between the left fielder, the shortstop, and the third baseman, and Josh Young and Wyatt Langford and Corey Seager were all going for it. Corey Seager catches it, and then Wyatt Langford, the big beefy boy that he is, just bounces off Corey Seager like he is a brick wall. Anybody who says after this year, why is Corey Seager, or at this point in his career, who's 31, turning 32 in April of next year, they say, I don't know how much longer Corey Seager can stick at shortstop. Corey Seager's going to stick at shortstop as long as Corey Seager wants to stick at shortstop. This is not just a guy who hits really good and you can put him at shortstop. That's what he was early on in his career. He was just a guy who was an incredible hitter and could play a passable shortstop. Now, he is a very good, elite defensive shortstop. I mean, he is not just a Gold Glove finalist like, occasionally they would put guys who didn't hit very well or had a good reputation, like, I don't know, Derek Jeter, whose defensive stats are not actually that good for the amount of Gold Gloves that he won. He should not have won that many. And there are some guys who they just nominate them to be Gold Glove winners because they hit real good. That's not what Corey Seager is. He is an elite defender and an elite hitter. He does both. He does both incredibly well. You pace out what he did for the full season this year, a 6.2 baseball reference WAR in 102 games. That's a pace for 9.7 BWAR. That's a nearly 10 WAR season. That's the kind of pace that he was on had he not messed around with those hamstring injuries. We'll talk about those in the third segment, but that was a 33 homer pace, which is what he's done in every season as a member of the Texas Rangers. He hit 30 or more home runs every year as a member of the Texas Rangers, which he had never done before he got to Texas. He never did that in LA. He never hit 30 home runs in a season. 26 was his career high, and that was his rookie year back in 2016. Then he hit 33, 33, 30, and now 21 home runs in 102 games. This is the Rangers' fulcrum for everything. We saw how much this offense dipped off when he was down, when he was not playing well, and when he was out earlier on in this season. And we saw how quickly things fell apart towards the end of the season. They had some moments, those little rascals, they definitely had some moments without him, but this team needs its anchor. It needs its fulcrum, Corey Seager, in here. You look at the leaderboards of what he did this year, just in those 102 games at 6.1 baseball reference WAR, that's 5th best in the American League. Not per game, not per capita, not whatever. 5th best in the American League while playing 60%-ish of a season. That's crazy good. This guy is crazy good. I still don't understand how he didn't get more love in free agency. How more teams weren't thinking, oh, yeah, that guy who's going to be heading into his age 28 season, who's won a World Series MVP, who's finished top 10 in MVP voting twice already, who's been an All-Star multiple times, who's been a Silver Slugger multiple times, a former Rookie of the Year, a guy who you can plug in and has a 870 OPS as at least a decent defensive shortstop. I can't believe more people weren't like, yeah, let me hand that guy 10 years, $300 million plus dollars. I cannot believe that more teams didn't try and match this Rangers offer, because this is one of the best players in the world. Full stop. This is one of the best on planet Earth. He is right up there with Cal Raleigh. He is right up there with Aaron Judge. He is Shohei Ohtani is his own thing, so I'm not going to compare him to Shohei Ohtani. But in terms of shortstop, this has to be in the conversation for the best shortstop in the entire world. I know Wyatt Jr. is spectacular, insane, phenomenal. That's great. Corey Seager is right freaking up there. And then you take in his postseason clutch gene and his epitome for the big moments in October. And for me, that puts him over the top. There is nobody on planet Earth I would rather have in a postseason series in the middle of my lineup or at the top of my lineup than Corey Seager. There's nobody else. Full stop. I would rather have him than Shohei Ohtani. I'd rather have him than Aaron Judge. I'd rather have him than Cal Raleigh. Give me anybody in the game right now, and I will take Corey Seager in a postseason game over them. I do not care. This guy is just that darn good. But alas, a lot of these stats have come with a qualifier of, oh, this per game, per this, per that. We're going to talk about his injuries and if it's time to be concerned about those darn pesky hamstrings. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. With how Josh Allen has played this year, maybe you pick less on those. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute, and PrizePicks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. It's also fun to follow on players on the app, copy their lineups with just one click. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineups. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Now, Corey Seager has been the aircraft carrier for this Texas Rangers squad. He is quite big, but I don't think they're flying planes off of Corey Seager's back just yet. We'll see how big he grows to next year. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. But Corey Seager is very darn good. But alas, he has missed quite a bit of time these last few years, and specifically with hamstring injuries. Now, he's missed quite a lot of time for most of his career. I mean, he only played 26 games back in 2018. He was dealing with a UCL injury. He had Tommy John surgery as a shortstop. That's odd. That's not particularly normal. He only played 150 plus games twice in his career in 11 seasons. He did it his rookie year. He played 157. That was his career high back in 2016 as a 22-year-old. Then he played 151 with the Rangers his first year there in 2022. And then he has not played 150 games since then. I'm hoping the Rangers can just have a fully healthy season from him next year, because I think that would make a huge difference in this team. The Rangers were 55-47 with him and 26-34 without him. They're 8 games above 500 when Corey Seager played last year, and they're 8 games below it when he didn't play. And he missed 37% of the season last year. And he's only played 76% of his games since he signed here. A lot of that's being buoyed by missing only 12 games that first year in Texas, but a lot of the time that he's missed has been with hamstring strains specifically. He has had 4 different instances of hamstring strains since he's become a big leaguer. Maybe it's 5. Maybe we're counting um, if you want to count this year as the same hamstring strain that he just didn't fully heal from, because it started back in April 2014, back when he was in the minor leagues. He missed 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. Then in June of 2019, his left hamstring, he strained that and he was out for 4 weeks. In April 2023, he missed close to 5 weeks with another left hamstring strain. And then this year, he had 2 separate IL stints with a right hamstring strain. I'm not sure if that one back in 2014 was his left or his right. It was not listed. He was in the minor leagues, so there's a lot less information on which hamstring he strained back then, but he has strained both of them officially. He missed 10 days the first time he strained his hamstring this year, and then he came back. He played for 10 more days, and then he landed back on the IL for 15 days, so 25 total days missed with that right hamstring strain, 2 separate occasions. I think definitely he came back too soon. He definitely came back too soon. It felt too soon at the moment. He didn't even play particularly well in those 10 days that he was back. And then he was boom, right back on the IL. That was the height of the Rangers offense being absolutely horrendous, the worst that it was. I get why he tried to fight through and play a little bit sooner, but it ended up just hurting them a little bit more. And then he's had a bunch of random injuries as well. Like they said, the 2018 UCL injury, he had a hand fracture back in 2021. He only played 95 games that season. And then the surprise appendectomy that ended his year. That is totally out of nowhere. And so maybe the solution is some more time off. I think that could be a possibility. Just more off days for Corey Seager. I mean, it's hard to give him a half day because especially last year, I mean, he has been much worse hitting as a DH than he is as a shortstop. Last year it was awful. This year it was awful. 5 games as a DH this year. He hit 105 on base of 190 and a 105 slugging percentage. That's a 296 OPS versus an 889 OPS in 97 games as a shortstop. The man needs to be playing the field. And also he's elite defensively, so you don't want to miss his glove out there. But I think it's possible. I'm not blaming Bruce Bochy for these injuries by any stretch of the means, but I think Bruce Bochy rides his veterans a little bit harder. Maybe Skip Schumacher will lean towards giving him more days off because Seager's not old by any means, but he's got a lot of miles on him. He's been in the big leagues since 2015. Towards the end of 2015, his first full season was 2016. This will be coming up on his 12th year in the big leagues in 2026. And at age 32, he's not old, but he's no spring chicken by this point. And having multiple injuries to hamstrings, you got to be really, really careful with those. That's also part of why he does not run very hard. I think at full tilt, he's decently fast, but he is a smart base runner. He is not a fast base runner in the bottom 8% of sprint speed, the 8th percentile specifically. Of sprint speed. But this year, there was also a little bit of oddness to the start of his year, not just dealing with that hamstring strain, but the power wasn't really there for the first month-ish of the season. I mean, he was really, really fighting for it. Just a lot of singles, a lot of balls not hit in the air, not pulled in the air. And that's what Corey Seager does very, very well. He pulls the ball with authority in the air. The vast majority of his home runs are to right field, right center field. There's not a whole lot of opposite field shots because he knows how to get the most out of his power, get the most out of his swing. He also swung and missed a whole lot more this year than he has in years past, but he also walked a whole lot more. He was in the top 7% of baseball in walk percentage, a 370-ish on base percentage, 373 on base percentage, which was 20 points higher than he did last year and 17 points lower than he did in 2023. But in 2023, he was also hitting, nearly 330. So the walk rate was not nearly as high as it has been. It was much higher this year than it had ever been in the past. 11.7 was his career best walk percentage in a full season. That was the last year he was a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. This year at 13%. It was around 9 to 10% the last 3 years in Texas, and it jumped up quite a bit. Now, part of that was because Corey Seager was being patient. He showed a lot more patience, didn't swing at the first pitch as much this year, and had more success by laying off that first pitch. He is incredible at hitting the first pitch. He had 3 first pitch home runs this year in 75 times where he swung at that pitch and ended the at bat there. But when he swung at the first pitch, he had a 774 OPS and a 940 OPS when he took that first pitch. Pitchers are aware that Corey Seager, you cannot just groove one to Corey Seager, get ahead, get a free strike one. Corey Seager will put that thing in the seats if you do not make a quality pitch on the first pitch of the at bat. But we also saw sometimes where he didn't do that as much this year. Only 3 home runs this year on the first pitch, where in the past he's hit, 5, 6, 7. Like it's been a decent chunk of his home runs that have been on the first pitch. I mean, 62 career home runs on the first pitch in 905 plate appearances for his career. He has been dominant on that first pitch, like he did in his most iconic home run ever back in Game 1 of the 2023 World Series. But he had a little bit of changes with his batting stance. He was better at hitting lefties this year than he was last year. For his career, he's been solid at hitting lefties. In 2023, he was exceptional at hitting lefties. This year, just a little bit better than he had been in the past. A 732 OPS, which was 6% better than lefties usually did against lefties. Hit home runs, but the batting average was down 76 points against lefties than it was against righties. Also didn't walk nearly as much. Was a 926 OPS guy against right-handed pitching. He crushed right-handed pitching this year, and the Rangers needed him to. The Rangers needed every bit of his bat this year, and him not being there down the stretch was the kind of, it felt like the final nail in the coffin. It delayed. The Rangers, did not actually push that nail in the coffin. It was just kind of sitting there while the Little Rascals kept that coffin open just a little bit on their playoff hopes for about 2-ish weeks when Corey Seager went down with that appendectomy. But that was ultimately the nail in the coffin. I'm not really concerned about the health and durability of Corey Seager. If he's a 120 game a year player and he's still getting 5, 6, 7 wins a year, that's fine. That's what you paid for. That is a quality player that can lead a team to a championship. We literally saw it 2 years ago, and I think he is still elite. He is getting better defensively than he had been. He might not make the highlight reel plays, but he never makes a bad play. And having that as a guy who is getting maybe not the majority of your ground ball outs, but a decent percentage, a huge percentage of your ground ball outs, having a guy who is not going to goof up the easy play basically ever, that is a huge, huge win. And when he's also your best hitter, that is an incredibly valuable player. Now, it wasn't the way he wanted his season to end, but overall, this was a great season by Corey Seager. Yet again, this guy is just the model of consistency of hitting and now becoming an elite defensive player that makes him even better, even more valuable of an aircraft carrier for this Texas Rangers franchise. I cannot think of a better player for the Rangers to have handed out the largest contract in franchise history. This guy is a cornerstone. He is a champion, and I'm hoping we get to see a chance of postseason Corey Seager next year because, by golly, do I miss it. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.